Greetings, everyone. This is Ohio Dan. I wanted to make some actual content here for my YouTube channel since the series that I'm publishing right now is going to alt media. I wanted to make an actual video for this channel as well. And this is going to be probably a pretty quick, kind of off-the-cuff type of video. But it occurs to me that there is a pretty good candidate for a fourth sort of rule or general understanding when it comes to men going their own way. And I'm not trying to pretend like it's up to me to come up with these rules. This is just a proposal, right? I'm not saying I have any authority over this whatsoever, because no single content creator does, and definitely not me. But it occurs to me that probably a good fourth rule for MGTOW is that you really aren't going your own way if you are dating or having sexual relations with the woman that you work with, or that has anything to do with your business or career or anything that you do professionally or to make money. Mostly we're talking about coworkers, although it could be a client or a customer, depending on whether that person really has the ability to make an accusation against you in that environment and cause you to basically lose your livelihood. And the reason why I think this makes sense to be kind of a fourth rule for men going their own way, the other three rules, just briefly, are you don't get married because of what the family courts entail. Basically, the marriage only benefits the woman, and you are tied to her legally, and she can take half your stuff at any time if you're married. So you can't effectively go your own way, especially in Western societies, if that's what you're doing with your life, if you're married. You also have the issue of not having children, because if you have children, especially on purpose, but even if you just get a woman pregnant, the woman can then use those children or that child against you to extort resources from you, and again, to basically ruin your life. So again, I know a lot of guys out here have had children in the past and then gone their own way since then after the marriage or relationship ended. But you can't really be pursuing the family life and trying to have kids, or essentially being okay with that as an outcome. You can't get a woman pregnant and be going your own way because of the power that that gives her over your life. You can't effectively go your own way from that because she has control over your finances to a large degree, or at the very least has a major say in everything that you do because she can get child support from you, or she can essentially blackmail you if you're still in a relationship because you know you can't leave that relationship after you have kids, even if you didn't get married. And the third rule is no cohabitation. Now, this is the rule that I use kind of to inform me about the whole don't have sex with or date a woman that you work with proposal, because the idea is that, well, you have common law marriage, but most U.S. states don't actually have common law. In my opinion, the greater reason for not living with a woman is the Duluth model, is domestic violence laws, because she can call the police on you at any time and basically at least attempt to get you kicked out of your own home. And because our laws are so gynocentric, right, the whole idea of the Duluth model is that any case of domestic violence or presumed domestic violence is the man's fault, not the woman's fault. Only men can be the perpetrators of domestic violence. And so because that is the dominant theory behind domestic violence, even though it's completely false, and it's been debunked over and over again, but the industry around how domestic violence laws are applied are dependent on this model. So it's not going to change. It is what it is. But that is basically why you don't want to live with a woman, because she can effectively get you kicked out of your own place by just calling the cops on you. And there have been so many men that have come into the community that have told their personal accounts of this happening to them or people that they knew and cared about. So my thought process is, if living with a woman puts you in a precarious situation to where it's not really your place and she can get you kicked out of your own home pretty easily if she decides that she's going to beat herself with a hammer, and there have been videos of this type of thing as well, right? And say that you did that, and then it's her place and she needs to be safe, so to speak. So guess what? It's not your place anymore because she's going to have a restraining order against you and she lives there. So effectively, you can't be in your own home or your own apartment or whatever the nature of your residence happens to be. If that is such a negative thing, it's such a precarious situation for you to be in that you can't effectively go your own way, which I agree with that understanding, with that interpretation of it, then if you are dating or having sex with the woman that you work with, she can get you fired due to Me Too at any time. Me Too is the catalyst, I think, that didn't exist when these sort of rules for MGTOW were developed or when these ideas came to fruition. Because before Me Too, it wasn't so easy for a woman to say, well, you just need to listen and believe, and I'm going to point my finger at this guy over here and say that he did these bad things to me when no one was looking, and you need to fire him. That type of thing really didn't exist in the everyday workplace for average guys, but now it does. Now, if a woman's not happy with you and you're having sexual relations with her or you're seeing her on a regular basis outside of work, essentially dating her in other words, then she can basically get you fired at any time. And so I think that putting your livelihood at risk, your career at risk, because you can be blackballed from several different other positions with other companies if the environment is such that basically they put you on a list and you're not going to get hired anywhere, your career and livelihood can be ruined or at least greatly damaged and challenged in a serious way by you dating a woman that you work with, by her having the ability to say that you did bad things to her and it becomes a he said, she said thing. And unless you have a boss that is reasonable enough not to get rid of you for that, if that boss decides to just listen and believe, you're done. Now, of course, women can make these accusations about you anyway, but you are consciously putting yourself in a situation where when your relationship or dating, or even if it's just friends with benefits, when that sexual interaction is over with because she wants something more or whatever the case may be, you get to a point where you're going to lose your job most likely. You're putting yourself in a position where your career can be greatly damaged at the very least. And so I think that it makes sense that that's a precarious enough of a situation, that's a detrimental kind of circumstance for you to put yourself in that is severe enough that you're not really going your own way if you're dating someone that you work with, because you're deliberately putting yourself in a position to basically lose your job and lose your livelihood. Now, maybe you could make the case that it's easier to find another job than it is to find another place to live, but I'm not sure that's the case, especially if it's for a Me Too type of accusation. Because again, as I've already mentioned, other employers or potential employers may look at you and say, well, no, you did these bad things supposedly when a woman made an accusation against you here, so we're not going to hire you. It's definitely plausible. It's definitely a possibility that you may not find employment at the same pay scale or doing the same type of work without a major state of turmoil in your life that you have to overcome because you lose that job, because it's harder for you to find employment in the same field or to make the same amount of money somewhere else because of the accusation that your girlfriend or fuck buddy or whatever the case may be made against you. Or if you're just dating, I would go as far as to say it may be harder to qualify this within the rule that I'm considering here, or that I think might be a good rule for MGTOW to follow. But even if you're spending a lot of time with a woman that you work with outside of work, that in itself may cross the line, because again, you may say something or do something she doesn't like, and she just decides that she's going to get you fired the next day or at some point in the future. So I propose the idea, at least for consideration, that along with not getting married, not having kids, and not living with a woman, that if you work with a woman that you're dating or having sex with, you're not really going your own way. you're kind of doing the opposite of what's necessary for that to happen, similar to living with a woman and the domestic violence situation that you're potentially putting yourself into by making that choice with your home life, by allowing a woman to move in with you, and definitely if you move in with a woman at her place. If it's not sensible to do that, and it pretty much makes it to where you're not going your own way, I think that if you're dating a woman or boinking a woman that you work with, it's a similar type of thing. You're putting your livelihood on the line. Maybe not your home life, but your work life on the line by making that choice to have that relationship or dating or sexual experience with that particular woman. I would say along these lines that if you are of the red pill or going your own way type of mindset, if you have a girlfriend and she says, hey, I can get you a job working with me and we can see each other all the time and things will be better because we'll have each other to keep one another company in that environment, the answer to that should be definitely no. Like, I'm not going to work with you because then if things go south, and you may not actually tell her this, but if things get bad between us in the future, my job is on the line. So I'm not going to do that. And of course, some places actually have rules that you're not supposed to date or have sexual encounters with the woman that you work with or with anybody that you work with at that particular job site. Other places, though, don't really care about that. But again, you should, if you're an individual man, because you're putting yourself in a position to get Me Too'd. If you willingly put yourself in a position to get Me Too'd by dating a woman that works at the same place that you work, or that is a consistent client or customer, somebody that you're working with all the time for your profession or for whatever it is that you do to make money, basically, and she could easily get you fired by saying, I don't want to do business with you anymore. I don't want to work with you anymore. You did these bad things to me. I'm going to make it known that you're abusive or that you take sexual liberties with women when they don't want those things to be taken advantage of. However you want to frame it, you're putting yourself in a position to lose your livelihood. And in my opinion, that's probably not conducive with going your own way. I don't think you can be doing that if you're dating or banging a woman that works with you in your business life or with your profession, whatever it is that you do to make money. If it's a coworker or a consistent client or customer or a boss or someone that works under you, I do not think that you can date her or have sexual interactions with her and have that sort of be consistent with going your own way. So that's just my proposal. That's my idea. It really seems analogous to the whole don't live with a woman type of idea. I know some guys would say you really shouldn't date at all if you're going your own way. I'm not going to consider that as a potential rule because I think that you can mitigate that by just being able to frankly ghost the woman or whatever the case may be if the breakup is not something that you think can go well. But if she works with you, you certainly can't do that. So I don't think you can make that actually make sense. I don't think that you can work with someone that you're dating and at the same time be going your own way from the potential trap that that creates, the potential really negative results that can happen if she decides to file a Me Too type of claim against you. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's smart even for the MGTOW guys that are still dating or the guys that are red-pilled and dating to not date someone that you work with because of the results that can come from that I've just described. I don't think that's a good position to put yourself in. If you're going to date or you're going to have a girlfriend or you're going to have friends with benefits, don't do that with someone that you work with. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard for you to live that sort of MGTOW type of lifestyle. And I think it's to the extent that this could be a fourth rule for going your own way, so to speak.